From courtside of the virtual hardwood, it's the NLSC Podcast, a weekly show for basketball gamers and hardcore hoopheads. This is episode 579. I am Andrew on our forum, Andrew NLSC on X and Blue Sky. I'm joined as always by my co-host Derek, DV3 in the forum, and DV3G and DV384 on X. Derek, it's the start of a new era. We're actually recording through Discord voice chat. Farewell Skype. But that being said, we have an interesting topic today, as always, so please, tip us off.
Yeah, so almost 300 episodes together recording through Skype. Hell of a ride. I'm actually surprised that it's going away, but hey, this Discord chat is actually pretty convenient. Doesn't cost anything, and it's pretty high quality, so hey, we'll take it.
Works for us, yeah.
So we're going to kick off today's show talking about modern NBA fantasy drafts on NBA 2K25, followed by discussing recent sessions on NBA Live 2000 and NBA 2K13. So, Andrew, the reason why I wanted to discuss modern NBA fantasy drafts on NBA 2K25 is because we did one last night. So it was me and my two brothers all controlling a team. We gave ourselves the first, second, and third pick. So I believe Mark had the first pick in the draft, Nick had the second, and I had the third. And the goal of these seasons is, we draft our teams and we are each other's opponents throughout the entire season. So I was the Celtics. So if I'm not using the Celtics in that season, it's because I'm being one of my brother's opponents or vice versa, etc. So I was really excited about the team that I was able to put together. A super fun video game team. And with my slider set that I use for NBA 2K25, it was actually a pretty damn fun experience. Andrew, I know you're not super fond of that game, but it was fast paced. A lot of great moves were made, some great shooting, etc. It was a pretty fun game. But I wanted to get your opinion on the team that I put together. And also our listeners, I'd like you to chime in as well, like on our social media networks or on Twitter, etc. Let me know if you think this team is a great video game team for the fun factor, and if you think they could actually compete in real life. This was a legit draft, no trades, nothing. This is the team that I put together. So point guard, Jamal Murray, shooting guard, Donovan Mitchell, small forward, Zion Williamson, power forward, Aaron Gordon, center, Naz Reid. Little short at center, but it's the modern NBA, Andrew, right? And you can get away with that more often. And I do have a little bit of size there with Zion and Aaron Gordon as far as toughness and whatnot. So what do you think of that starting five? Do you think that could compete?
I think so. I like that starting five, particularly because I also ran a fantasy draft in anticipation of recording this episode and actually picked up Jamal Murray and Aaron Gordon. So once again, we're on the same page here.
There you go. So Jamal Murray is a steal where you can get him in the draft on 2K25. On the bench, I have Chris Paul, Grayson Allen for spreading the floor. I have JaVale McGee. I know he's a little long in the tooth now and whatnot, but he gives me size and length and some shot blocking and whatnot. I have old man Kevin Love. I have Dalton Connect 4 and whatnot. So I have some shooting. I have some veterans, some young legs as well, but tried to round it out there. I think that team, because I think Jamal Murray is an unselfish player. I think Donovan Mitchell would be the leading scorer and be the best scorer in that group. I think with the toughness inside and the matchup problems that Zion Williamson can provide, the all-around game of Aaron Gordon, where he can spread the floor, he can attack the rim, etc. And I love Naz Reid's game. I feel like that team in real life could absolutely compete. But I'm interested in what our listeners have to say about that. And before I throw it over to you to see what team you were able to put together and see how similar it was to mine, we did play one game. And these were my stats with that team. So 12-minute quarters, Donovan Mitchell had 37 points, 2 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steals, on 16 of 33 shooting. Zion Williamson had 27 points and 15 rebounds on 12 of 20. Naz Reid had 19 points, 18 rebounds, and 3 steals, 8 of 10 from the floor. Jamal Murray, 16 points, 3 rebounds, 10 assists on 6 of 13. And Aaron Gordon had 16 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists on 7 of 13. And we played on base superstar difficulty, so for shooting and whatnot. So I think that's pretty realistic and pretty well-rounded, wouldn't you say?
Definitely. I have to ask because I did a Serpentine draft. Do you do Serpentine or do you just keep that 1, 2, 3 pick?
We do fixed.
That's fair.
It's we do not do so. We do fixed. We've always done it that way in any game that, had that option. But what team were you able to put together?
So as I said, I did a Serpentine draft just to make it a bit more challenging for myself. Pick the Bulls, obviously. And I gave myself the number 4 pick, Derek, just to make it interesting. And also 4 is my favorite number. I'm not sure why. It's just always appealed to me. I suppose it's the number that I used to wear, actually, when I played. So it's my favorite number, so why not give myself the 4th pick? So with my first pick, I took Wembanyama, 7'3", can do it all, block shots, hit from the outside. Not the strongest post game, obviously, just yet, but can certainly score inside as well. Very difficult to go past Wemby with the number 1 pick. I did think about getting possibly Doncic, but actually SGA went first to the Nets in this random order draft. I chose random order, then gave myself the 4th pick. Sorry, Lakers, I dropped you down I dropped you to 27th when I swapped the picks around. So as I mentioned, also picked Jamal Murray and Aaron Gordon. Also CJ McCollum and Klay Thompson. Wanted a lot of shooting. This is the modern NBA, obviously, Derek, but also players that could get it done inside. So went for those veterans, plus the young Wemby. So that's my starting 5. Jamal Murray, CJ McCollum, Klay Thompson, Aaron Gordon, and Wembanyama.
I love your team. And the fact that you were able to get that through Serpentine makes it even a little bit more special because I think it's easier to get the better players when you do fixed, right? So, I think our teams would compete nicely against each other. You'd have a little bit of a size advantage, but I think I'd have a little bit more scoring, right? So, super interesting. Now, if you noticed with my lineup, you know how I love big dunkers, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I put Zion Williamson on there. I got Aaron Gordon, Mitchell can get up, etc. I'm notorious for taking guys that can attack the rim with a vengeance and, be just power dunkers or high flying dunkers. You went a little bit more finesse, actually, with your team. And I think that works. One of my brothers actually took Klay Thompson and he way overshot with him. Like he took way too many shots in the game that he played against me. But Klay Thompson, we've talked about it before, has one of the easiest releases in these video games.
Oh yeah.
In any of the recent
many years actually.
2Ks. Yeah, exactly. So you know how to shoot with him. But his base and his release are just so easy to use. So who did you round it out with on the bench?
So I think you'll like this. I got old man Al Horford as my big man off the bench.
Yeah, my brother actually took him and put him as a starting center. I'm going to get into their lineups in a second. But yeah, Al Horford is a steal in the late rounds.
Also picked up Derrick Rose out of the free agents simply for sentimental reasons, and his ratings are still pretty good. So wanted to have him, bring him back to Chicago for this last run in this fantasy draft. Also, Dante Exum and Matisse Thybulle, a couple of Aussies in there. Almost took Joe Ingles as well, but wanted a little bit more youth. Also, Buddy Hield, who just had a fantastic performance to propel the Warriors to the second round. Steven Adams, Kiwi, and he was pretty effective as well in that first round series, 7-game series between the Rockets and Warriors, of course. Actually, also did pick up JaVale McGee, so once again we did share a pick there. Shot blocking and dunking, how can you go past that? And rounding it out, Nicholas Batum and Fred VanVleet.
Yeah. So Derrick Rose in that game, you can get him in like the 12th or 13th round. You can get him so late. And he wasn't even supposed to, be in the game really because he didn't play this season. And then Buddy Hield also is a steal. Pretty sure you can get him in like the 7th or 8th round and whatnot. So yeah, your bench is stronger than mine and your starting lineup is comparable. And I think we were around the same area of the draft. To start off, you were the 4th pick. I was the 3rd. So yeah, fun to put that together, isn't it?
Oh, it is.
I love fantasy drafts. We've been doing fantasy drafts, constantly since the early 2000s, and it never gets old. I wanted to let our listeners know what my brothers took, for players. So I'll just go over the starting lineups real quick. So my brother Mark took Jalen Brunson, Chet Holmgren, Klay Thompson, Zach Edey, and Lauri Markkanen. He loves threes. He loves to be able to stretch the floor. He loves that size. He loves having a 7-foot Markkanen at small forward to pair with Holmgren in a lineup to pair with Edey. That's the way he likes to play. So you can see that, with those draft picks. And my brother Nick paired Steph Curry and Russell Westbrook actually in the backcourt. Paul George at small forward, Julius Randle at power forward, and Al Horford at center. I think that's a fun team, right? Super fun video game team. But yeah, just had so much fun in that game last night. So I had to bring it up on the show. I think NBA 2K25 is probably my favorite 2K gameplay wise since 2K19. I think 2K19 is stronger, but it's probably their best release since then, at least from a gameplay perspective for me. Now, after doing that fantasy draft, did part of you, be like, I kind of want to throw him on the floor? Because I know you're not a 2K25 fan. Like you haven't been able to pick it up, and hit the virtual hardwood. But after putting it together, were you like, I kind of want to put him on the floor?
Little bit. And it helps to have that save there. Now that I've set it up, it's there if I want to play around with it. So that's why you don't go ahead and delete these things after you've done them. I'll probably give 2K25 another go before the life cycle is over, before 2K26 is out. I've just been enjoying 2K14 and other games in my rotation too much and kind of fell off 2K25 despite my initial positive impressions. But as I said when we did our final impressions of NBA 2K25, I still feel that it is the strongest release of this generation. I still feel kind of positive about it, even though I haven't really been able to get into it. I know that sounds weird and contradictory, but it's a game that I can see myself trying again. Other 2Ks of this generation, I suppose I will give them a go at some point just to give them a second look and see if it does change my mind, see if when I remove those expectations and open mind, fresh eyes, all that stuff, see if it does change my mind. 2K25, I think I will be able to return to it at some point. I'm certainly more interested in doing so, if nothing else. But yeah, maybe through this. And fantasy drafts, I have done them before. I've often preferred to do franchise mode with just the current rosters and play GM and make my own moves. That's what really appeals to me. But I have done fantasy drafts before. I do enjoy the fantasy teams concept, as you know, and custom teams way back in the day with the original custom teams in NBA Live. I had a lot of fun with those, actually. So, yeah, I'll keep it in mind.
Yeah, so I tried to turn this into a community question, Andrew, to see, put a team together using that fantasy draft option in NBA 2K25 and crickets. I didn't get any responses on Discord or on Twitter. There was one response from Shamgod, actually, and he states, NBA 2K25, what's that? And like I stated, it seems like when I ask NBA 2K25 related community questions about people's experiences on the virtual hardwood, it's probably the least popular community questions that I ask. It just feels like people don't really want to talk about that game. And it's a little unfortunate for me because I'm getting into it a little bit more than our audience, it seems. I think that it has a lot of holes. I think that there's a lot of, better games in the series than NBA 2K25. But I have put, a few hundred hours into the game thus far. But yeah, I did find that amusing. I just couldn't get the community involved in the whole fantasy draft idea.
Yeah, the community's obviously been great with your community questions, since we went to this format with the mailbag. But yeah, like you say, NBA 2K25, people just don't want to seem to really talk about it in our community anyway. To that point, no responses on Facebook either to that question. People have been very enthusiastic about other questions. I think we've got a lot of retro gamers these days in our community.
Yeah, I think that people are just kind of blah on 2K's direction in general.
True.
That's just the way I feel about it. Like I feel like there's a lot of 2K fatigue. I don't have it as much as I did last year, just because I am getting into 2K25 a little bit more, and I like what they've done with pro play. And my brothers have been able to get into it with me, etc. Just like our last night session and whatnot. But like I feel like the excitement for the series has just died a lot on the PS5 gen versions of 2K. So hopefully that turns around. Hopefully that changes and people get more excited about the newer games. So anyway, before we move on to the next topic, let us know what you think on the YouTube video, on social media after this episode is released. Let us know what you think of, who we selected in our draft. Let us know what you think of our teams, and let us know what you were able to put together if you're able to throw on the game and do a draft yourself.
Before we go on, a reminder that the NLSC podcast comes out every week on the NLSC, MBA-live.com, as well as our YouTube channel. We're also on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and other podcast apps. If you're listening on any of those apps, we'd greatly appreciate a review. To keep up with the show and everything we're doing with basketball gaming in general, connect with us on social media. On Twitter and Facebook, we are the NLSC. We also have an Instagram, NLSC Basketball, and on YouTube, we're youtube.com/NBA Live Series Center. Once again, visit us at NBA-live.com, where in addition to the podcast, you'll also find all of our original content, as well as our forum and modding community.
But Andrew, we wanted to talk real quick, before the end of the show about sessions we had on NBA Live 2000 and on NBA 2K13. Both were fantastic. One from the Live series, one from the 2K series, two classics, two games that are arguably the best for those series of all time. There's a debate there, right? Because people loved NBA 2K13 and people loved it Live 2000, but we played them in different ways. So on NBA Live 2000 for the PC, connected via Parsec, we used the 90s All-Stars versus the 80s All-Stars. And on NBA 2K13, we played the URB 1984-85 roster with rookie Jordan paired with Woolridge versus young Clyde Drexler, Kiki Vandeweghe, Sam Bowie, Trailblazers. But the NBA Live 2000 session, how much fun was that? Just such a crazy dunk variety. Like so many different dunk animations. It's so fun to get out on the fast break in that game and play defense and whatnot. We had a blast. Jordan was playing absolutely amazing. Number 4, Sean Kemp, because he was with Cleveland at the time, kind of hurt to do all of those fantastic dunks with number 4. Sean Kemp should have been number 40. We should have went in and changed that, honestly, before that session. But we were throwing it down on people with Shaq and pummeling them with poster dunks. Just awesome session on NBA Live 2000.
Said it in the forum and our Discord, and commented on the YouTube video as well, that every time we go back and play NBA Live 2000, or I go back and play it solo, it just impresses me more how much it holds up, how much of a timeless game it was. Yes, there are ways that it shows its age, obviously, but there's so much authenticity in that game, so much variety, considering that it's a game not even released in the 21st century, Derek. That came out in late 1999. It's the last NBA Live release of the 20th century, and that was the original development team, and they went out with a bang with that game. And we've talked about the faces, how fantastic they look, how some of the faces in NBA Live 2000 look better than some of the faces we have today, despite having more primitive models, despite having lower resolution textures. Just wanted to mention the minimum specs of NBA Live 2000. Windows 95, 98, 166 megahertz, not gigahertz, Derek, Intel Pentium processor, or AMD K6 processor, 32 megabytes of RAM, a 4 megabyte video card. We are obviously playing with much more powerful cards these days. I have a GeForce 1660 Super with 6 gigabytes of RAM. You have an even more powerful AMD card. And just putting those old cards to shame, that is the minimum system requirements. I believe the recommended is 8 megabytes, which is still nowhere near what we're playing with today. Designed for that kind of technology, yet looks so fantastic. And not just graphically, obviously, the gameplay holding up so well. We were using a custom roster where we've added a couple of missing legends, including Clyde Drexler, also Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And Kareem hit a skyhook, And that's not a signature move for him. It just happens to be a very Kareem-like skyhook in the game. But he got it down low and tossed up that hook. That was so beautiful. That was so satisfying to see the CPU playing that way. Larry Bird followed a shot. He followed his miss in and grabbed the offensive board. Was it quite like the famous putback that he had? No, he didn't do it quite like that. But the fact that he still did that, amazing authenticity, again, for a game that is over a quarter of a century old, came out last century, Derek, looks fantastic, plays fantastic. Yeah, Live 2000 is one for the ages.
Yeah, I think the thing with that too is, for the younger crowd, this is why we could get into the games back then, right? There were some excellent basketball games being released 25, even 30 years ago. But especially 25 years ago with a game like NBA Live 2000, the depth, right? That game has a lot of depth. It has a great season mode. And the gameplay overall is pretty deep, and it's fun, and the pace is great and whatnot. And you got your legends, and you can, mod on PC, and you can customize your experience on the consoles, etc. It's just a great release. We sunk hundreds of hours on it back when it was new, right? And now I can still play it and enjoy it the same today. And that's a testament to how timeless that game is. And then, on NBA 2K13, so a game that was released, 13, 14 years after NBA Live 2000, we had a similar experience as it relates to fun. I would say that session was equally fun, at least for me. And it's because just the gameplay, the between the lines action. NBA 2K13 could be argued as one of the best gameplay experiences in the entire 2K series. First game with right stick dribbling, just absolutely explosive moves going to the hoop, just awesome one-on-one capabilities, etc. And I talked to you about this offline, just a great post game, right? Spin moves in the post going either way, fadeaways, half hooks, all of that stuff. You can use a guy like Dwight Howard and feel like you're really using Dwight Howard and overpower your defender and throw down ferocious dunks, etc. Just a lot of gameplay improvements, in my opinion, from, over 2K12 with 2K13. And then obviously that great mod, the URB, helps the experience as well, because we were able to go back and have a truly authentic 84-85 gameplay experience. But yeah, getting up and down the floor, me locking on Woolridge, you using the rest of the players, us running the break with Jordan and Woolridge, that was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, it's a mixture of everything. Like you say, it's just a strong release, and that was a time when 2K was all in on making the most realistic sim possible. As we said before, people, 2K did not succeed by being a quote-unquote arcade game. Yes, of course, there are some liberties as far as, there's a few more dunks than you'd see in a real game. That's just the way basketball video games go. That's what makes them so fun, to take a few liberties there. But they were going for sim. They were going for realism. They were going for total control. They were trying to improve it in every way possible. They weren't bothered about metagaming and seasonal live service content and all that stuff, and putting in things that have nothing to do with basketball or a basketball video game. So that's why that generation of 2Ks finished so strong. And it started pretty strong too with 2K6, as we talked about before, Derek, but by 2K13, they were really cooking. So I love 2K13, the first game in the series that I was really able to get into because of the right stick dribbling. And when you have that strong base, and when you have a fantastic roster, and that URB roster is made so well, so authentic, you forget, as we said before, you forget that this is not a game that has originally 1985 rosters. There was so much authenticity in that mod, worked so well. I was pretty pleased with how our setup worked out, me controlling all of the other players, you locked on Woolridge like that. And one of my weaknesses on the virtual hardwood, Derek, as you know very well, is that sometimes I won't be assertive enough. Sometimes I'm unselfish to a fault. This goes back to how I played real basketball, actually. Sometimes I was afraid to miss. I didn't want to let my team down. I didn't want to appear selfish. And sometimes my teammates and my coach had to tell me, no, we want you to take that shot. We know you can make that shot. Look, we're all taking shots and missing them. It's okay if you do too. And sometimes the guys would have to tell me when we were playing with NLSC Thrillho online, we know you love your assists, we know you love to distribute and be unselfish, but it's okay to take that shot. So I was trying to be a bit more assertive. I kind of lost it. I had a couple of blunders, and that shook my confidence a little bit with my input lag, living in Australia as I do with my connection. Still felt I played pretty solid. You, of course, were carrying us down the stretch there with Woolridge, came up big in the clutch, but a lot of great highlights, as you can see in the YouTube video, and we have such great chemistry, I think, on the virtual hardwood. Not just on the podcast, Derek, but also on the virtual hardwood when we play. I've been bugging you a lot to play lately, obnoxiously so, but I'm glad we connected on that one, because 2K13, another classic, and that roster so well made, and I enjoy playing with a roster that's actually before my time.
Yeah, I think that the URB folks with that roster were more accurate than 2K would have been if they had put it together. Right, as far as tendencies, signatures, the way the players move up and down the floor, the accuracy, etc. So that's why it makes the experience even better. I also want to point out that there's a lot of pressure on the person who is not locked. If you're using 4 guys on the floor at all times, you have more pressure than the guy who's running around just using one player. So yeah, I thought you played incredibly well. We did pull out that win. It was a close game. But, you hit some great shots with Jordan. You were cutting at the right times. When I did post up, I saw that you were kind of, flaring out to the 3-point line, just trying to give me space to go to work. And yeah, I think that worked really well. And I do think that we have really good chemistry on the virtual hardwood. Just to let our listeners know, Michael Jordan in 84-85 in his rookie season averaged 28.2 points, 6.5 rebounds, 5.9 assists, 2.4 steals, and played all 82 games, 38.3 minutes a game. And he also shot 51.5%, Andrew, from the field. Orlando Woolridge, great sidekick for that season, especially in video games, averaged 22.9 points, 5.6 rebounds, 1.8 assists, and shot 55.4 from the floor. So, yeah, good 1-2 punch there. We don't have a lot of outside shooting on that team, but I thought we did a pretty good job attacking the rim and going to the post and whatnot. Their 3rd leading scorer that season actually was off the bench. It was Quentin Daly, who averaged 16 points per game. But yeah, Andrew, fun sessions. Definitely don't think you're bugging me when you ask to play, because I love playing, and we've been playing a lot of different games. Lately, we've had sessions on Live 2000, 2K13, NBA Street Volume 2. You said no to me about NBA 2K25 again. I'm going to get you on those sticks again, though. I'm going to get you on the sticks on that game. I do want to say something about the community, though, before we close the show. Live 01 Legends, I want to see you play NBA Live 2000. And I think Andrew would agree. You guys you put thousands of hours in NBA Live 2001. And I think that the gameplay on Live 2000 would suit both of you. And I'd love to see videos go up on your channel. I'd love to see you guys get into that game. I think the PC version is by far the best for NBA Live 2000.
Franchise,
but but the console versions still are good, and we spent a lot of time on those as well. But yeah, Andrew would agree. We want to see the Live 01 Legends play some NBA Live 2000.
Well, I think it was actually on the Instagram video sharing that and promoting the YouTube video that Nate said, we should play Live 2000. I think our skills would translate. And I absolutely agree. Give it a go. I think you really would succeed at Live 2000 and really would enjoy it as well. And to your point, Derek, when we say console versions, we are talking about the PS1 version, Nintendo 64. That is an okay version, but it's definitely the weakest version of a fantastic game.
Yeah. I think that NBA Live 2000 is a lot more reactive on the sticks than NBA Live 2001. One of my biggest complaints about NBA Live 2001 is the delay when you push a button.
Yep.
Whether it be to pass, to shoot, to do a dribble move, etc. I find that the delay is far less. It's actually instant when you hit the button when you're trying to execute something on NBA Live 2000. And I think that the Live 01 Legends, Roger and Nate, would probably appreciate that fact. I think the post game could potentially be a little bit better in Live 2001, but that's debatable. But the shooting is very similar, I would say, in both of those games, if not a little bit better in NBA Live 2000. The dribble moves, crossovers and spin moves, I think they're far more reactive in Live 2000. I choose Live 2000 as the better game by a sizable margin than Live 2001, and I think that a lot of our listeners would probably agree with that.
Oh, that was a contemporary opinion as well. And it's funny because you go back Well, actually, you can't go back. They're actually in my archives. But when I go back and look at some of those old posts from the original forum that is archived, I might have to find a way to upload those as static pages, although not sure what's in there. Maybe there's some content that we don't want out there. It was the Wild West of the internet after all. But a lot of people had some really harsh criticisms of Live 2000. As popular as it was, and as much as it was modded in our community, patched back in the day, there were some harsh criticisms, and not totally unfair, I suppose. I suppose some people did have very high expectations, but it's funny, Live 2001 came along, and people suddenly appreciated Live 2000 a lot more, and I hate that that plays into the whole, oh, everybody hates the latest game until the next one comes out, and no, we certainly loved 2000 at the time, but some of the harsh criticisms didn't look so good in hindsight when 2001 came out, and we realised, no, this is what a more flawed release looks like. And speaking to Rod Redekop all these years later, we know that it went to a new programming language. They switched the programming language that year, so they had to rebuild a lot from scratch. They also lost a lot of the team, so they were working with a much smaller team, which is why the PC version was delayed, also why the potential patch fell through, despite the fact that they were taking feedback for that from us, and that fell through, unfortunately. And then Live 2002 was console only because they didn't have the team to develop a PC port. So there's a lot of stuff that wasn't really explained back in the day, and perhaps should have been, but yeah, Live 2000 was definitely a high point. As I've said before, I think that Live 2004 through 06 on PC, and you can kind of throw 2003 in there as well, is that second golden age for NBA Live, but what a peak for the series with Live 2000. And 2K13, kind of the same for that generation, although 2K14 is right up there as well, and started the next generation really strong with 2K14 on PS4 and X1. I'm still playing the PS4 version to this day, obviously. But these games, Derek, the great releases over the years, they hold up. They stand the test of time. And yeah, I love revisiting them. And once again, 2K9, we've been talking about starting a season on that one. That's probably still in the pipeline.
Yeah, it's hard for me to start the season on NBA 2K9 just because we have such a library of games, right? And sometimes I'm in the mood for the live series. Sometimes I'm in the mood for Live 2000. Sometimes I'm in the mood for early 2010s, 2Ks. Sometimes I'm in the mood for NBA 2K25. Sometimes I'm in the mood for some super crazy NBA Jam on Fire edition action.
Sure.
So yeah, that's why it's tough for me to stick with one game and start a season, but we definitely have to soon.
And of course, we will keep you all up to date with what we're playing. And as we've said before, Derek, we want to hear what the community is playing as well. So let us know what you're playing, your thoughts on basketball gaming, and of course the fantasy drafts that we talked about.
And I promise the next community question will not be about NBA 2K25. I have heard you loud and clear, or actually haven't heard you at all.
The twist here is it's going to be about NBA Live 07.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'll get many responses on that one either.
Maybe some veterans can weigh in on that one. We think we know what they're going to say. With that being said, that has brought us to the end of this week's show. As always, thank you for tuning in, and please join us again next week, and every week, on the NLSC, nba-live.com, our YouTube channel, or wherever you listen to podcasts. In the meantime, make sure you're following us on social media, that's where you can get in touch with us, and of course, stay up to date with all of our content. So Derek, go ahead and plug the handles.
Yeah, you can reach me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at D43G and at D4384. You can also reach me on YouTube, D43, and on the NLSC, D43.
As for me, I'm Andrew in the forum, and Andrew NLSC on X and Blue Sky. The NLSC is on X, Facebook, and Blue Sky at the NLSC. We're also NLC Basketball on Instagram and Threads. We're on YouTube at NBA Live Series Center. And of course, keep a look to the NLSC itself, nba-live.com, for everything we do for basketball video games. So, thank you once again for tuning in, and until next time, I'm Andrew.
And I'm Derek.
Go get buckets, everyone.